The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame. Turn your memorabilia into a work of art.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. We have a packed show for you today. Tennessee beats Mississippi State in basketball. Kentucky is next. We'll talk that. Tennessee makes 3 changes on the coaching staff, the football coaching staff. We'll talk about those. Most importantly, we're going to do a deep dive into the athletic director search. Basically, how did we get here and why are we here and why is it always a mess, or at least a perceived mess, at the University of Tennessee? We'll dig into all of that. Let's get right into today's show. We don't have much time, so let's blaze through it. First segment brought to you by Tennova Healthcare. And when someone you care about is going through a medical battle, you want to trust a medical staff that can help them physically and be there for them mentally. That's what Tennova is all about. They've been there for me personally. They've been there for my family. Body and mind. That kind of care stands out if you ever need it or if someone you care about needs it. Tennova Healthcare provides it. Tennova.com. I can't say enough good things about them or about this wave of panelists we have right here. Jimmy Himes, Mike Strange, Josh Ward, Chuck Cavaleris. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Let me just catch people up. The people are up in arms over the athletic director search. UT announced this week, after Jimmy Himes announced it a day or two before they did, that they would have a 6-person in-house search committee that would work with a search firm to present Chancellor Beverly Davenport some options there. Congratulations, by the way, on once again scooping everyone. Well done. If they had put out a release, however, in my view, when Dave Hart announced his retirement in August, fewer folks would be outraged today. And I should have said this if we've got it. Oh, for a do-over. If they just put out a press release that said, and this is August when Hart announced he was leaving, search committee must hire a chancellor first, which they suggested, create a new committee at that point to find the AD, and then we will hire an AD by Hart's last day, June 30th, 2017. So many people have been acting like Dave Hart turned in his resignation and left last August. How are we running with a rudderless ship? They're not. But I think if Tennessee had just announced it in that way, just very simply, A, B, C, you would have had a lot fewer people screaming, why isn't this done? And to be honest with you, that's where most of this frenzy is coming from. It's online stuff, it's talk radio stuff, people saying, why aren't we beating the clock? Why isn't it done yet? And to me, they could have handled this a lot better with just simply laying out, especially the underline on, we don't need anyone until next summer. But I want to start, they talked about a search firm. We mentioned that in there. The search committee is put together, but they're going to work with a search firm. Jimmy, who is the firm, and tell us a little bit about the firm.
Well, the search firm is Turnkey, and they're 20 years old, but a couple of years ago they hired a guy named Gene DiFilippo, who used to be an athletic director at Boston College in Villanova, and he's very, very close friends with one Philip Fulmer. So I think that's interesting. DiFilippo hadn't been there that long, but I think that relationship between Fulmer and DiFilippo is kind of interesting. I don't know what new names they're going to bring to the table. It'll be interesting to see, but I do know that DiFilippo likes Philip Fulmer a lot, and it'll be interesting to see how they progress.
The search firm thing, I don't have a problem with it depending on how they use it. If they're going about it and saying we're hiring these guys to handle our background checks, because most of these search firms are better equipped to really dig into that kind of stuff. And you don't want to run the risk of a Donnie Tyndall type thing. So I'm fine with that. If you bring them in just so you can have the plausible deniability, we never talked. Yeah, that's right, because the AD talked to the search firm. I'm fine with it. You've had since August for people to send you their resumes. If you're not going to chase people who didn't send their resumes, I'm not for it. I mean,
what if you hire Fulmer or Blackburn?
Yeah, what's the point of the search firm?
Exactly.
So if they use it to simply do background checks and plausible deniability, or to dig into people who've actually turned in resumes, okay. But I wouldn't think about using a search firm to go find new people. Am I wrong on that?
Well, the new people should be finding you. Don't you? I mean,
do you want the job?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I never have really understood that. I think it makes sense because there seems to be so much conflict internally at UT. I think it does make sense to have somebody else But you wonder about the conflict on there. You know, it's almost like a conflict of interest on what they're doing.
You mean in terms of the DiFilippo former?
Yeah, and it probably goes further than that.
Well, let's take a look at the search committee. All right, let's see who's on this search committee that Tennessee has put together. The in-house, you got Charlie Anderson, Board of Trustees, longtime booster. Donald Bruce, College of Business. He's also their faculty athletic rep, the NCAA. Jimmy Haslam, longtime booster. That's Jimmy, son, not Big Jim. Roger Joubran, the Board of Trustees. He's on the Board of Trustees. He's also the chair of the search committee. He's the one guy that really doesn't have a sports title to him at any point. Peyton Manning, I think he's kind of a Philip Fulmer guy, I bet.
I like we identify Peyton Manning as the booster.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you call him? Booster. I was going to put God, but you know.
I was going to say it could have been GOAT.
Yeah. Well, no. As a Patriots fan, I wouldn't do that, but okay. Donna Thomas, Associate Athletic Director. She's been over there for a long time. Any issues with the people on the search committee? Any problems? There's some people that are saying, why are business people on there? That you'd have to be crazy to think that because it's kind of a $100 million business.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty diverse group, I think, with different opinions that will come in. You have a UT connection to it as well, which I think UT fans want to see, which is also interesting to me because the search firm is being used to begin a national search, according to UT. And I think it's been very apparent that fans want a UT person. So I don't think fans, at least the majority of fans, want a national search. They want a local search.
Maybe it's a national search for a UT person.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got some other UT ties out there. You got John Curry, you got Mitch Barnhart.
You got a Phillips at Northwestern.
There you go. You got UT ties on. Anybody that should be. I looked at that
You
list.
got Reggie McKenzie sitting out there,
There you go.
NFL Executive of the Year.
He's doing just fine with the Oakland Raiders. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to take our team shots.
I don't know what the deal is.
Either one works for me.
Mike, I'll ask you. My thought when I looked at that list, and I don't know that you could have gotten him. I don't know what his duties are right now. But Charles Davis, someone who's been coast to coast dealing with coaches and athletic directors in his job as a broadcaster, I thought that would be a guy who could lend some experience to the panel. I don't know that he could have done it, but he might have approached him. But to me, that would be someone I would put. Anybody else on there you would put?
Well, I like Charles Davis, I'll say that.
But I think
off the top of my head, no. But Charles Davis wasn't on the top of my head either, and you got him, and he's a good one.
But he's really so busy this time of year, as much as they do for getting ready for the draft and the draft coverage, that would be really tough for him to do.
Yeah, and I saw the name Randy Grunfeld kicked around too. Well, it's kind of basketball season, so he's not going to be able to do it. But those are the. I think you might have been able to go out and get one more person maybe. Somebody mentioned Todd Helton to me. Helton hasn't been extremely involved with UT athletics, so I don't know that that's.
Do you need more than 6 people to go
I might
find Philip Fulmer?
If that's what you're doing, then this is all a waste. If the whole thing is just bringing Philip Fulmer, then this is all a waste.
Or David Blackburn.
Yeah. I don't have. Okay, let's get into this. Who's to blame for the furor surrounding all this? I'll give you my theory. I think it's the boosters, because you've had leaks. I don't think there's a big issue. There's a huge. Everybody thinks it's nightmare world. You still have months before Dave Hart leaves. You're getting assistant coaches with contracts that last 2 years. Someone's approving those. You're not running without an athletic director. The only thing that's making people say, oh my God, it's taking forever, is the fact that everyone thought it was going to be done sooner. And I think it seems that somebody comes out and leaks, well, it'll be done in December. And then it turns out, oh no, it'll be done this week. It's imminent with Philip Fulmer. I may be wrong here, but I get the feeling, and we talked about it last week, you got a lot of different people pulling in a lot of different directions. And it seems that every time somebody thinks their guy's in the lead, oh yeah, we're almost done here, it's almost done. Alabama went out and hired Greg Byrne, and nobody knew a thing about it until they announced him. Zipped the lips, it was quiet. That's a guy that Tennessee thought maybe they could talk to. People around here wouldn't want him. Alabama sure jumped at him. Am I wrong there? Is this fans overreacting? Is this boosters doing leaking? Is this the media trying to pry in there? Is it UT botching it?
It's all of the above, isn't it?
No, I don't think so, but okay.
I mean,
Go ahead, that's your
somebody
take.
told me, said it's a good thing Tennessee is not planning a wedding, because you would have sent out wedding invitations for December the 15th and say, no, wait a minute.
See, but UT didn't. That's just it. UT, the school, didn't.
But it got out that way. You know,
And
but,
that's who got it out.
But how many things has Tennessee handled properly from the PR standpoint, kind of through the
agree with
years?
that.
You know,
I just think
Am I wrong, guys?
I just think the fact that you didn't have a chancellor in place just changed the whole landscape of this deal. If you'd had a sitting chancellor in place to start with, I'm not saying they could have done it as quickly as Alabama did, but it wouldn't be.
Well, and Alabama's
the
been
way it is
working
now.
on it just behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yes.
5 months.
Your
What I was
thoughts on
told.
what's behind this?
Well, I remember at the announcement for Dave Hart that they had said they weren't going to hire an AD until they hired the chancellor. But here's my issue with there are two big issues to me. One is, why did Dave Hart have to announce his resignation, retirement, 10.5 months before he was stepping down? He actually had 2 years left on his contract when he announced it. I think that led to a lot of angst and anger. The other part of that is, I think a lot of people were in a hurry to get an AD in place because what if Butch Jones leaves? What if he takes another job? What if you got to fire him if he does this or that? And I think people got all in an uproar. Well, a lot of those what ifs didn't pan out. Therefore, you don't have to have somebody in place right now. And I still think it's going to be, March, April, or May.
Well, the other thing I think is interesting, a lot of people, Josh, and very quickly, I want to finish with you. A lot of people say, well, why are you having to wait on a chancellor? Well, and they say it's a clown show. No, a clown show would be hiring someone in a shotgun wedding and forcing them upon the new chancellor. Because, just an example here, let's say it's Philip Fulmer. All right, Philip Fulmer does something, the chancellor doesn't like it. Chancellor says you can't do that. Does Philip Fulmer take the marching orders? Or does Philip Fulmer then go to the people who put him in place and go around the chancellor? And what happens if she wants to fire Philip Fulmer or David Blackburn? Can she? Or do the donors who put them in place say you can't do that? And then you're right back to what Tennessee has had for years and years and years, which is dysfunction. Josh, your thoughts on, could you have made this go faster having a vacancy at your chancellor spot?
Yeah, I guess they could have gone faster, but they weren't going to. So that's why I would say that they would have been better off waiting until they have the chancellor in place to then make that decision on Dave Hart's future, because then that makes it look like, whether it is the case or not, the chancellor actually has control of the entire situation. So I would put the blame on Dr. Joe DiPietro's shoulders.
Joe DiPietro, who's also become very close friends, I'm seeing it reported again and again, with Philip Fulmer.
He is.
A lot of stuff with Philip Fulmer here. All right, when we come back, Philip Fulmer, David Blackburn, we'll discuss. Or is there somebody else? It's Blackburn Fulmer. Come on.